Hello, it's Ren Presents time. I'm your host, Ren, and today we continue with the Belmont Saga, Part 1, Chapter 13, The Sister's Fist. Last week, we met the main bads of this story, full force, the Drury Brothers, and they claimed their name was at first the Venables, and eventually after they get the drop on Stenstrom and his merry band, they say, oh, well, the Venables are just a group of people that we killed. A funny thing, the Venables, they were at one time a spacefaring group, a family that got waylaid in space and killed, but the sisters created or commissioned a family of flesh replicas from Planetfall. Flesh replica is a very convincing robot, basically. And they would have these robots, these flesh replicas, flying around, pretending to be, just innocent spacefarers, conveniently all alone in the deep belly of space, just waiting to see if some group of roughnecks and reprobates waylay them in the vast veil of space. But then these reprobates would be in for a rough surprise, as the Venables were programmed to explode upon boarding or upon capture. So these flesh replicas would get intentionally captured by whoever out in the middle of space, and then they would explode, taking them, the pirates, and their ships with them, the Venables. That sort of put a damper on pirating and raider activity in various parts of League space, because you never knew when you were going to get either a real group of people or the Venables was waiting to explode on you. And, that uncertainty really made things a little safer. So, just a side note. But these scabrous men that stink of innards boarded the ship in a Weber ship, and Webers are a very old class of fleet vessel. They predate the Straylights. I think there was a few models before the Weber. I can't recall them just off the top of my head, even though I created them. That was a long time ago, because I haven't really thought about these type of ships in a long time. But the Weber, a very primitive ship, very rigid, kind of looks like a capital H if you see it from top to bottom. Lots of capsules, lots of gantries, but it was still a pretty reliable vessel. Did a lot of fighting with the Zaffins, and then as technology increased, the next major class of heavy ship, the Straylight class, was much superior to the Zaffin designs. The Zaffins had a hard time with the Straylights, and then eventually with the Triumph class of ships. But they're in a Weber, which seems to have a lot of weird alien add-ons to it. It kind of moves kind of flexes like a pill bug, kind of rolling and unrolling. That's not a Weber. Webers were very rigid ships. It latches on. These four creepy men appear. Stenstrom's got the drop on him. He says, turn around, head back where you were. And then they're like, well, no, we're not going to go. You're just three of you in an unpowered ship. Oh, and you've got a lot of warrants and writs and notices out for you. So if we were to turn you in, we'd probably get a reward of some sort. And then the leader of the group, Chance Drury, in a lightning move, disarms Paymaster Stenstrom, takes his ents away from him. His arms stretched out way longer than any normal arms should be. And then Clem Drury did the same thing and got Tara's SK. He was gonna shoot Aram with Tara's SK, but found out that her palm sprander's attached, and that's a security device that prevents anybody but the authorized user, which in this case is Private Tara, of firing the gun. And most Marines, worth their salt, remove the palm sprander because it's heavy. If you're that pathetic of a Marine that you're going to have your gun taken away from you. You deserve whatever you get. But Tara, being kind of a slothful Marine, never took hers off. And it's a good thing, because when he tried to shoot ARAM with it, the gun wouldn't fire. A battle ensues. Paymaster Stenstrom ends up getting thrown into the airlock, and it closed behind him. And that's where we left off. Let's proceed right now. Part 1, Chapter 13, The Sister's Fist. Stenstrom thought to pick the lock and open the hatch, but there was nothing to pick, no exposed locking mechanism to get his hands on. He desperately pounded on the hatch in fear of what was happening to his friends on the other side. His friends were possibly dying, and Captain Gwendolyn was sailing into a trap of some sort. The Cronins, what are those? It didn't sound good, whatever they are. There was a shot and a strobe flash of green light through the windows. Stenstrom struggled with the hatch. A voice entered his head, a chiding, laughing voice. You are our fist. Camelopardus is out. We lend you our power. He felt something filling him up. He looked at his hands, and for a moment they no longer looked like flesh and blood. They looked metallic and machine, like the hands of a thoughtfully crafted robot, made of silver and gold. He pushed on the hatch door, and surprisingly, it opened this time. No, it didn't open. It was twisted and wrecked. He had pushed through it, past the start metal and hermetic seals, and bent the armored hatch like it was made of spun sugar. No time to consider what he'd just done. He ran into the hallway to save his friends. Down the corridor, ARAM and Tara were hunkered down in a service nook. Lemuel was fiddling around with Tara's SK, trying to get the palm sprander off, and apparently Clem, partially stuck in the web, had tossed it to him. Chance had escaped the web and was pressing them with green shots from the nth pistol. Clem was still stuck in the web and was swearing to beat the band. Innocent was tearing at the web, trying to free him. Although Chance appeared to know quite a lot of things, he didn't seem to know that the nth shots could pass through obstructions such as walls. He could shoot through the walls straight at them, and that would be it. That was the Rumalore working, the false information about the capabilities of the nth. That flaw in his knowledge was saving Tar and ARAM at the moment, for he kept trying to shoot around the wall. Stenstrom fell on Innocent and Clem from behind. What the? Innocent choked as Stenstrom hauled back and cuffed him in the face, knocking him into the wall some distance away. Chance turned to shoot Stenstrom with his own pistols and was shocked. Mein Gott, what are ya? He asked, staring at him. You're like us! You're like us! He leveled his ints at him. Stenstrom quickly seized the barrel of the pistols and got them out of Chance's hands before he could fire. No, he didn't pull them out of Chance's grasp. He pulled the ends away with Chance's hands still clinging to them. They hung there like two grim decorations, trailing streamers of flesh and gore. Chance, handless, roared and drew away. Clem freed himself from the remains of the web and attacked. Stenstrom turned the pistols, cocked and fired, getting Clem in the chest. He groaned and fell over, clunking hard to the floor. Chance started to say something, but Stenstrom was on him. He picked him up and roughly headbutted him. Ay, chingado! Chance piped, and Stenstrom headbutted him again with bone-crushing force. A strange sound filled the corridor at that moment, a rapid, hitching, guttural sound, like a machine gasping in its death throes. The noise seemed to be coming from Clem. Tara gritted her teeth and ARAM covered his ears. Stenstrom blocked out the noise and threw Chance head over heels through the smashed airlock into the hold. Chance responded in Chinese, coming from beyond the hatch. Picking up the fallen Clem, Stenstrom also threw him into the airlock. He then turned to attend to Lemuel. Tara and Aram had exited their hiding place and were roughly engaging him, though they didn't appear to be having much luck. Lemuel spun and threw Tara aside. He aimed the SK at her and pulled the trigger, but it didn't go off. Again, it was palm-spranded. Aram worked his way behind him, while Tara engaged afresh from the front, charging him with her lowered shoulder. A spitting little ball of fur she was, even shackled. Aram fell to his knees, and with Tara pressing him backwards, Lemuel tripped over him, shoulders back, filthy shoes in the air. The SK flew out of his grip as he fell. Aram sprang and grabbed it. He struggled with the heavy weapon, aimed and pulled. Again nothing happened. The palm-sprander defeated him too. "I'm gonna poke ya, missy," Lemuel roared, trying to stand. Tara hauled back and kicked him square across the face with her hard marine Broussard boot. His face seemed to fall apart and go shapeless for a moment, like a sack full of broken glass. Stenstrom picked Lemuel's scrawny buddy up with one arm and tossed him into the airlock along with Chance and Clem. There was a commotion of bodies colliding within. "Cut these damn things off me!" Tara hissed, leaning over, presenting her shackled hands. Stenstrom quickly removed them from her wrists. "Gimme this!" she yelled, snatching her SK from Aram and clearing the palm sprand. She saw Chance peeking out of the airlock door and laid a roaring burst on it. He backed away into the interior as the blast riddled and blackened the hatchway. With another wave of his hand, Stenstrom produced 3 red holy stones and 3 more lime green ones. He cast 2 reds into the smashed hatchway and they burst into hot flames. Chance screamed from within. He then cast the greens and thoroughly covered up the smashed inner hatch of the docking ring airlock with webbing, preventing them from exiting. Aram ran to the controls and hit the purge. The outer doors opened and Chance, Clem, and Lemuel Drury were swept out to the vacuum of space. Stenstrom's webbing sucking in with the change in pressure, but holding. The venting pushed on the head on the hearth, and she lightly bounced into the neck of the Seeker, still grappled on by her metal tentacles. Tara's eyes grew wide. "Hey!" she managed to say. She pointed. Behind Aram, innocent Drury rose up. Stenstrom let fly with 3 more marzible daggers, getting him in the face and chest. With his other hand, he threw a red holy stone which he had saved. Innocent burst into a tower of green and red flames. Tara got a beat on him and loosed a burst. There was a throaty blast of gunfire and a spray of blood. Innocent fell forward, riddled to the chest by 50 caliber fire from Tara's SK, the corridor filling with the smell of cooking flesh and gun smoke. "Good creation!" Tara exclaimed, running her hands through her hair, her SK smoking. "What in the name of hell is that? It's a damn good thing I was too lazy to remove my palm sprander from my gun, or it'd have been curtains." "Are you two all right?" Stenstrom cried. Aram nodded and looked at the webbed-up hatch in the airlock as he shut the outer doors. He noted the twisted wreckage. "You did this, Belle?" "I suppose so." "When you first came out of the airlock, you looked a little strange," he said. "How so?" "Well, I didn't have time to take it all in, but you looked like a robot, just for a moment." Stenstrom shook his head. Must be the sisters doing somehow. Tara pulled her Monica from the wall and approached the fallen, mangled form of innocent Drury. She gave him a kick, stirring up tails of dark smoke. "Did you see how fast those guys moved? These are eaten-up-looking shine poles. They shouldn't be able to move that fast." What is a shine pole, Tara?" Stenstrom asked. "Enlighten me. It's not a nice name to call somebody on Baz. Leave it at that." Aram was quite shaken. "How were they doing all that stuff, Belle? How do they know the things they knew, and how did they contact the Demophalon John?" Stenstrom slid his ints back into his sash. "I have no idea. They must have had a comm of some sort, or long-range holomon hidden on their person. Speaking of which, let's get to the bridge at once and raise Captain Gwendolyn. We've got to tell her she's heading into a trap." Aram pointed at Innocent's dead, smoking body. What should we do with him? Leave him for the moment. We've not the time. We'll dispose of him later. They moved down the hall at a run. Chance Drury mentioned something called the Cronins. Tara, what are those? Stenstrom asked. She cleared the chamber for SK and cocked it. Bad dreams, Belle, and I don't need the Molly to tell me that, she replied, trotting at his side. They're supposed to be evil spirits that eat your dreams and lead you astray, trying to cause you harm. On Baz, in the old days, just after the fall equinox, there was a 2-week period that we called the time of the Cronins. It happened every couple years. I don't know the exact number, but 2 or 3 years, maybe 4. During that time, we'd all start having bad dreams. We'd begin hearing things, seeing things too. As the stories go, you couldn't trust your eyes or your own ears. People sometimes would walk right off a cliff and have no idea they were falling. Sometimes people would gravely wound themselves and have no clue they were hurt. That sort of thing. People stayed home during the time of the Cronins and hid, doing as little as possible and hoping just to ride it out. But every time, lots of people got hurt or killed. Your boy, Jarius Jones, rose to prominence during the time of the Cronin. He didn't seem to be affected by it. That was a long time ago, and now it's just an excuse to drink and not work. Never believed in them myself. They climbed the lift shaft and arrived on the bridge. Aram, get us some space from that pirate ship out there, and then, once we've room, we'll pick up some speed, slap her hard amidships, and sink her, and that'll be that. Aram took to the helm, and Tara flew into her seat at the missives panel. Standing to, Belle, he said. Very well. Aram, pull us away and swing up Z-445. Tara, raise the Demophalon John, if you can. Aram spun the wheel, and the Seeker banked away as usual, moving backwards. She's grappled on out there, Belle. I can't shake her loose. I've got the captain, Belle, Tara said. Audio only. The comms messed up. Stenstrom was relieved. Static came down from the comm. Gwen, is that you? Paymaster, I'm right here, came a reply over the comm. What is your situation? Gwen, that previous transmission you received from us was bogus. We ran afoul of a group of pirates calling themselves the Drury Brothers. They told us that they were attempting to lead your ship into a trap of some sort. I don't know the exact nature of what they had planned, but it didn't sound good. I see, she said. Sobering news. Gwen, I suggest you return at once to Cana and report the situation to the fleet. Tell them they should send an armada to sweep this area and keep a weather out for something called the Cronins. I don't know what they are, but the Drurys are planning on feeding you to them. Yes, excellent, Paymaster. I shall make sail for Cana at once and advise them there. Stenstrom stood, looking up at the ceiling. He sensed something was wrong. Gwen, you seem awfully compliant. What about your mission? My mission is important, but secondary at this time. You advised me of danger in this sector, and I see the good sense in it. Stenstrom rubbed his chin. When we spoke initially, Gwen, what did you say you were going to do to me? Her voice came back over the comm a moment later. As I recall, I invited you to play cards. Tara looked into the viewer. She muted the comm. Belle, we're not sending out any signal. It's being jammed, and we don't have the power to overcome it. Stenstrom turned to Aram. Are we free from the head on the hearth? No! Tara, unmute the comm. She did. Stenstrom continued. You didn't mention wanting to play cards, Gwen. As I recall, you mentioned wanting to knock my teeth out. So, to whom am I currently speaking? Please. There was a crackling pause, and then... I fancy your ship, Paymaster, came Gwendolyn's voice. It's a little weedy, but nothing a few acquired parts won't fix, will they? You're gonna die, sir. You know that, don't you? Identify yourself, please. There was another pause. Come into your office and see for yourself. Stenstrom drew his ints and headed towards his office door, Tara following. She took a deep breath and went in. Outside, through the windows of the office, he could see the girded bulk of the head still latched onto the neck of the seeker. Two figures floated near the windows, bobbing in naked space. It was Chance and Lemuel Drury, and though they had no pressure suits, they both appeared to be very much alive. Lemuel was, with one hand, holding on to the outer skin of the ship, and with the other he was holding on to Chance, who had no hands and was badly charred, his hair and clothes mostly burned away. Eyes glittering, Chance's mouth started moving, and the calm came back on. "You've no idea what you're dealing with here, Paymaster. We inhabit the spaces in between the mundane and the well-traveled. The small stretch between Kano, Naris, and Baz isn't so small, and that's where we prey on the unwary. In the heart of the League, right under its nose. You and your friends on the scouting ship are our prey, our latest victims. You are simply among those unfortunate souls lost at sea and hailed in memoriam. Your empty chair shall be saluted with raised glasses and thumps on the chest." Tara lost her bearing a little. "What in the name of creation are you?" "Je suis le diable, the devil." Stenstrom aimed his inth at the windows. Chance drew back and gave a hideous grin, his burned face nearly splitting open. "What are you gonna do with that, Paymaster? Shoot us? You'll out your window and space yourself. It's do quite a lot of damage, so I'm told. Les est une vraiment grande explosion, huh?" "Don't believe everything you hear." Stenstrom pulled the trigger. The hammer swung, and a green ball of energy lanced out, passing harmlessly through the window and out the other side, hitting Lemuel in the chest. He thrashed in surprise for a moment and then was still. Stenstrom cocked the other inth and fired at Chance. He partially hid behind the bulk of his dead brother, and the green shot hit Lemuel in the shoulder, sending both of them spiraling away toward the aft of the ship. He watched them flail into the distance. "Aram," he yelled, "I want a 360-degree wing roll on my mark." At the helm, Aram kicked the lever on the floor. "Ready," he said. Stenstrom waited a few seconds more, and then, "Now, Aram, roll." Aram spun the wheel, and the Seeker barrel-rolled fast, the head moving along with it through about 90 degrees of the roll. Then it let go, its gangly bulk spiraling away, tentacles flailing like a tick that had been pried loose of its host. "Oh, look!" Tara cried with glee. "The head got one of them. Did you see?" Through the window, Stenstrom could see that the bulk of the head had plowed into one of the Drurys before it let go. The second Drury, and they couldn't make out which one, managed to avoid getting hit by the head, but instead got clipped by the rolling wing of the Seeker, his body rocketing off in a random direction like a ping-pong ball smacked by a fast-moving paddle. "Serves 'em right, the buggers," Tara said. "Creation, Belle, what are we dealing with here?" "Truly, I have no idea. Is the Molly telling you anything?" "No! The Molly seems to be a whiz with the technical stuff, but a little less so with the weird, and those shine poles were way weird." They left the office. "What happened?" Aram asked at the helm. "What was that?" Our friends were back. "Those guys? The pirates outside?" Aram was a bit panicked. "Yes." Stenstrom thought a moment, which gives me a bad thought. "The one we left in the corridor, Tara, you hit him with an SK burst, right?" "Yep. Got him right in the chest, full auto. Probably put 10 50 caliber slugs right into him. No man could survive that." "And no man could survive naked in space without a pressure suit. Yet the two of them didn't appear inconvenienced in the least." I recall hitting Clem Drury previously in the chest with my nth, and we did not see him out the window just now, so I'm assuming he's dead somewhere. Stenstrom started for the lift. Where are you going? Tara asked. Back to the docking ring to make sure our friend is still where we left him, good and dead, and if so, I'm going to space him out. You're not going alone? Yes, I am. You two stay here. Aram, get us into position to finish the head on the hearth off. I want you to create some distance, lay on to, and sink it. Tara, keep trying to raise the Demophalon John. He handed Aram one of his ints and went out into the dark of the lift shaft. If anything comes through that lift door and it's not me, use it. Stenstrom made his way down the dark lift shaft and out into the waiting corridor beyond. And with that, we conclude Part 1, Chapter 13, The Sisters' Fist. So, we see the sisters weren't lying when they said that Lord Belmont is their it man, their fist, and that they infuse him with their power, giving him a lot of preternatural abilities that people don't normally have. He's super strong. He's quite invulnerable as well when the sisters are lending him their power, but they can take it away just as fast. He engages the Drury Brothers in combat, shoots Clem with his ints after recovering them, and that's a pretty fatal blow. The ints can kill anything. Clem fell dead. He also burned up Chance Drury and threw him into the airlock along with Clem and Lemuel. And then Tara, freed from her manacles by Stenstrom, puts a 50 caliber burst right into Innocent Drury's chest. And a 50 caliber full auto is going to do hellacious damage. Even if you're just winged by a 50 cal, the pressure wave is probably going to kill you. So she probably put 10 shots into him just with a quick burst. It appears like he's dead, but as they try to warn Lieutenant Gwendolyn that she's heading into a trap, they find that the Drurys are still alive and well. Not Clem. Unknown what happened to him. He's probably dead. He got hit by Stenstrom's nth. But Lemuel and Chance Drury are outside the window with no suits, seemingly fine as you please. And eventually they get dislodged from the side of the Seeker, and with a quick wing roll, he gets slapped into the empty, naked bowl of space. So the Drurys, they're not so easily gotten rid of. They look like a bunch of scrawny, unhealthy men, but there's a lot more to them that meets the eye, and we will discover more of that in the preceding chapters. Next chapter, Chapter 14, Morgan Jeterix. And if you recall, Morgan Jeterix is the Hospitaller aboard the Demophalon John. So we'll spend a little time with them, and they are apparently heading into a trap, and the folks on the Seeker didn't have enough power to overcome the Drury's jamming efforts. So they're heading into some sort of trap by what Tara referred to as evil spirits that used to haunt Baz every 400 years. Apparently, the Demophalon John is heading at high speeds right towards the Cronin. So we'll discover more next week. Part 1, Chapter 14, Morgan Jeterix. And things are just humming along right now. Until then, this is Ren Presents. I am your host, Ren. Peace out.